Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about the death of Xbox because I do truly believe that here in the next couple of months at the start of 2026, I fully expect that Team Green is just gone. I think that Microsoft is about to completely dismantle permanently the Xbox brand, very likely canceling all future consoles. But it's also more than that. I think they're going to probably just try to split apart stuff, maybe sell their studios, do mass layoffs. And today, though, I wanted to talk about the fact that something interesting has been happening this week, which is that a lot of the biggest Xbox YouTubers, Xbox journalists, Xbox websites are saying that it's just dead. It's over. That at this point, nobody even cares about it. Their views are down. Their entire clicks are down. The attention is down. The audience is just gone. I do feel like a lot of this comes down to the fact that Xbox fanboys have gotten the worst beating. The people that specifically jumped on the Xbox Series X day one, now they've had to suffer through multiple price increases, the gutting of Game Pass. I mean, just in general, even them going fully third party, Xbox is so dang dead. But I wanted to really explore this and kind of look at all the different reactions to it, because a lot of people sort of seemed like shocked that really, after buying so many companies, buying Bethesda, buying Activision Blizzard, buying the biggest, most profitable companies on the planet, they just died even faster. But let's break it down. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yes, this video is completely fueled by a sugar rush. I just ate maybe an entire pound of homemade Christmas cookies, and boy howdy am I buzzing. But here's what kind of originally stirred this up, is that I saw this is one of the main guys of Digital Foundry. Now here on the channel, I infinitely respect Digital Foundry. They do such interesting work about pixel counting, resolution dips, performance capture. These guys are just experts in a field that they truly own all to themselves. And they said, looking over the year, our coverage of Xbox titles in videos almost feels like it's getting harder and harder to justify from a work return perspective. Very little views there, even for titles you'd think would draw them in. I wonder what the future is there. Essentially what they're saying is that, say you're trying to put out 5 videos this week, right? And it costs you, a couple $1,000s total in work, in editing, in hardware, stuff like that, right? And 4 of them are going to really, really overperform. A Nintendo Switch 2 comparison. Oh, here's a new patch for some game on the PS5 Pro. Those videos all overperform, whereas the Xbox videos, nobody watches them. There is just no care anymore about Xbox Series X versus S, or ultra graphics on PC versus graphics modes on Xbox Series X. Xbox content is just so dead and so irrelevant. They're like, we might as well just axe that content, because at this point, it's not worth it. It's better to have a day off than get a video out there that's just gonna absolutely bomb. Now, this is Jez Corden of Windows Central. Obviously, used to be a Windows leaker, kind of besmirched. Now, Jez used to be somebody that was very reputable back in the day. He had a lot of really interesting sources and stuff, especially around the launch of the Xbox Series X, but he really bet on stuff saying, there's no way that Xbox is going third party. There's no way they're increasing the prices. Now, at this point, he's kind of a meme. No offense to him, but he said, same, we literally only cover Xbox from a gaming perspective, and we're doing far more traffic on Steam Deck. It's wild. Now, part of that's just the fact that, honestly, the Steam Deck fan base, myself included, very rabid. It is interesting, though, that even an Xbox website is like, brother, we just can't get those Xbox clicks. Now, Nib here says, Xbox's ability to diminish their own relevancy, even after spending over $83 billion, this is for all their acquisitions, ought to be studied. It's almost impressive how consistently bad they've been at strategy, management, and marketing. And I think this is such an interesting trifecta that he did nail, right? It's all 3 of them. Strategy, they're spacing out games, overhyped stuff, constantly letting people down, constantly just letting their biggest stuff go third party. Management, just the fact that they've done so many layoffs, so much just random stuff inside. The amount of people that have left Xbox that seem to really know what they're doing, I think it's a sign that the management is a sinking ship at best. And the marketing, think about all the games that even came out in the last 2 years that had literally zero marketing. Hellblade: Senua's Saga, right? I don't really care much about that game, but that got zero marketing. Outer Worlds 2, zero marketing. South of Midnight, zero marketing. At this point, it just seems like, why are you even bothering to make games that cost you hundreds of millions of dollars if you're not even going to spend I don't know, $4 million on ad buy or something, right? But I also saw this. So Destin Legary has been a guy who's been very pro Xbox for a lot of years. Recently, he went independent, and he was always the guy who, I want to say that he's optimistically Xbox, which is that I'm not going to say he's out here defending bad decisions. He's not out here saying, Microsoft will all come out in the wash. I always saw him as the kind of guy where when Xbox did questionable stuff, he was more leaning on the side of, I think this will come out in the end. I think they could do a price drop. I think the Xbox handheld has a lot of potential. And he's been kind of, in my opinion, the most shocked about the fact that, honestly, this has just gone from bad to worse to apocalyptic in such a short frame of mind. Xbox content creators, there's a rumor going around that Xbox traffic is bad. Digital Foundry and Windows Central are reporting very poor numbers. Has this been the case for you? Noticeably worse. Now, I can say anecdotally, you've probably noticed, but this year, I usually genuinely liked talking about the console wars. It's been fun talking about Xbox versus PlayStation, or big, giant, cool moves and price drops and trailer announcers and stinks. And I just didn't really do that kind of content this year because there isn't an Xbox. I mean, Phil Spencer's not really making that many statements. The only time I really cover him at this point is when they really do a significant layoff, or when they release like 1 or 2 games a year that actually interest me, like Avowed. I reviewed Avowed, right? It's just the kind of thing now where nobody really cares. Now, Jez is trying to backpedal like he typically does. I didn't say traffic was very poor. Guide traffic has been obliterated. Now, I feel like he's trying to say, oh, when I read an article, those still get views. It's the guide traffic that's bad. Now, here's the thing. Guide traffic to a lot of websites, anybody that's inside of stuff like IGN or GameSpot, they'll tell you that guide traffic is like a huge part of your entire profitability. Going to the website whatsoever, you're going to see those sidebar ads and stuff, right? The journalism may get that like constant people that care about you, that know about your stuff, but guide content, that's what actually gets people coming to the website over and over again. Googling, right? Where do I get all the dingleberries for the dingleberry tree in South of Midnight, or where do I get the Sword of 1,000 Truths in World of Warcraft? Doing that is what actually drums up that like normie traffic. He is essentially saying there is just zero interest in any Xbox guides whatsoever. Nobody's looking up Halo stuff. It's just at this point, Xbox from a guide perspective is less than zero. But I wanted to go to this here. I think this is a 3-pronged problem. And the first part is definitely the fact that there is a leak that came out about 5 days ago from Kepler-2. Kepler-2 is actually a pretty renowned leaker who knows all sorts of insider numbers that you're not really supposed to know. And he's been pretty dang accurate. And he said that from what he's heard, they've sold less than 1 million Xboxes in 2025. Now, keep in mind, they sold about 14 million Nintendo Switch 2s in just the last 6 months. I think PlayStation came in at about 10 million PlayStation 5 sold this year, including the PS5 Pro. So the profitability of the PlayStation, even on a per unit basis, is way up. That means that at best, for every 11 consoles sold, Xbox sells 1. This to me shows the fact that the most important aspect of a lot of the gaming industry stuff is growth. It's not just your current fan base, it's that you're always reaching out. You're always finding new people. You're always getting new cheerleaders to talk about the brand, to get them into the ecosystem. And at this point, it's pretty clear that there just isn't that hype, that excitement for anything Xbox, and all the price increases definitely aren't helping with it. I mean, look at this. Nobody is buying this. I think problem 2 is definitely that all these price increases, there is just so much that makes people think, look, why would I buy an Xbox? Even if I had $600, this is the discounted version. Usually it costs $650. They're basically being like, brother, why would I even get that? Digital Foundry, they also hit the nail on the head, which is that I do feel like just in general, a lot of games now are just not optimized as well on the Xbox Series X. If your options are, if you've got the same $600 and your options are to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you know, it runs better. It looks better. It's not just even about the exclusives. Put the exclusives aside. If you're trying to get a singular system, the PS5 is going to have more people online. It's going to have more sales. It's going to have cheaper stuff. And also, on top of everything else, the games just look better. And if you're trying to buy a console and you're trying to get that best console experience, you're not trying to spend $3,000 on a high-end gaming PC, you kind of have to go PlayStation because that's where the stuff doesn't look like crap. But it does also come down to the final third prong, which is the fact that there just really isn't games. Now I'm going to make an offensive joke here. Xbox doesn't get the no games criticism the way the PS5 does, in the same sense that it's uncouth to laugh at a disabled person falling out of a wheelchair. It's uncouth to laugh at a disabled person falling out of a wheelchair. And I think this is the perfect way to put it, right? PS5 does not have nearly enough exclusives. I feel like when PlayStation does release a game like Ghost of Yotei, it's great. I love it. I cheerlead it. I play the hell out of it. I try to get the platinum. I mess with difficulties and stuff, but that definitely doesn't happen enough. But I feel like at the same time, people say PlayStation doesn't have enough games because I feel like that is a fair complaint. How is there like 80 million people have bought a PS5 and there's like less than 8 great exclusives? Great Astrobot. Okay, Last of Us remastered. But nobody even makes that point about Xbox because who cares? Xbox is so irrelevant. It is so dead. Nobody even cares to say, hey, why don't you have any games? Because at this point, people are basically saying, hey, why don't you have a console? I just saw so many people saying, it's just a dead platform. Blame the brain dead fanboys for never asking for better. Blame Phil Spencer and the company for never doing better. Thankfully, Nintendo fans were smart enough to ask for better after the Wii U, and after that man left the company. I just think it's interesting that in a lot of ways, this I do think is part of it. I do think that so many of the Xbox YouTubers really sold themselves on the next year is best. And I think this happens a lot, right? I think this happens a lot in gaming, which is that people are always excited about the possibility of what's coming over the horizon, right? That next cool thing, the prospective teaser trailer. What is Intergalactic going to be like? When is Naughty Dog actually going to release a game, right? Are we going to get an Astrobot 2? The potential is almost more exciting than the game itself. And you just can't have that experience with Xbox anymore. There is no Xbox potential. This is the last year of Xbox. And like you would always expect, it doesn't end with a giant explosion or a crazy merger. It ends with a wet fart in an empty elevator. I saw this article by Engadget and I thought it was premature, but then I saw the Digital Foundry and Windows Central said their least traffic was related to Xbox videos. Amazon can't get of Xbox stock, and once again it's unclear. Xbox dies in 2025. Thanks so much for watching this video. How do you feel about Xbox at this point? And how do you feel in general about, I don't know, just the entire console market? There's been a lot of data that just in general, if you want a console, you probably already have it. The growth has been rather bleak this year, and 2026 probably not going to be a lot better. I do think a lot of this just comes down to the price increases, right? It's harder and harder to sell somebody on an increasingly expensive hobby, right? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And what did you get for Christmas? Did you get any great games? Tell me. If you got Expedition 33, especially tell me. Thanks so much for watching. If you could, please give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Look at this giant sugar cracker. Wow, so good. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.